Hello and welcome to our guide to the Wealth of Nations. Today we are looking at Chapter 2 of the principle which gives occasion to the division of labour. In the first chapter of the Wealth of Nations, we looked at how the division of labour created wealth by massively increasing productivity. In the second chapter, Smith looks at what causes this division, the thing which drives humanity forward to ever greater wealth, our desire to trade, or, as Smith puts it, our propensity to truck, barter and exchange one thing for another. Trade is mankind's superpower, the thing that separates us from the animals. Nobody ever saw a dog make a fair and deliberate exchange of one bone for another with another dog. In this chapter, Smith looks at the psychology of people and their motivations. Modern economics is less concerned with why people make the choices they do and more concerned with the consequences of their choices. It is assumed that people act in their own self-interest, and that people can be irrational in their choices. Smith, though, was a product of his time, and he did not think like modern economists. He lived during a period known as the Age of Enlightenment, when philosophers such as Voltaire were trying to understand human nature, and his home in Scotland was at the heart of this intellectual culture. The ideas in Chapter 2 come from this 18th century worldview. For Smith, the desire to trade runs deep in human nature and is common to all people of the world, from hunter-gatherers to bank workers in his own Edinburgh. Even a beggar will trade old clothes he is given for food or somewhere to stay. A person who creates something needs more than just what they create. A shirt maker cannot survive off just his shirts, so he has to make more shirts than he needs himself and exchange the shirts he does not need for the things that he does. Animals can take care of themselves. They can find their own food and get everything they need for themselves. Long ago people lived like this, getting their own food, making their own tools and shelters. Different people now, though, find themselves in different circumstances and with different opportunities and needs. As they specialise in taking care of different needs, they acquire different skills. Smith warns us not to presume the division of labour is caused by the difference of natural talents. People gain different skills because they are brought up differently, not because they are innately different. The difference between the most dissimilar characters, between a philosopher and a common street porter, for example, seems to arise not so much from nature as from habit, custom, and education. Differences in talent are an effect, not a cause, of the division of labour. Chapter 2 includes one of the most famous passages in the Wealth of Nations. It is not from the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we can expect our dinner, but from their regard to their own interest. We address ourselves not to their humanity, but to their self-love, and never talk to them of our own necessities, but of their advantages. There are two ways this passage is usually interpreted. The most common is that people, when interacting with the market, only do things if they themselves can benefit. The market is not about caring for others, but instead rewards greed. The alternative view looks at this in terms of sympathy. Adam Smith's first major book, The Theory of Moral Sentiments, argues that it is sympathy for other people that lies behind being truly human. The butcher, the baker, and the brewer may be concerned with themselves, but they must first be able to anticipate what others want and need before they can get what they want themselves. It is because others need meat, beer, and bread that butchers, brewers, and bakers can meet their own needs. Everybody relies on everybody else.